We have two candidates for repotting. This one's getting a bit top heavy, a bit unstable, and this one's easing out the pot and easily blown over. This is a Dendrobium, probably delicatum, and this is a Dendrobium speciosum, one from northern New South Wales, Queensland. So I'm probably not going to split this one, but I'll repot it. And I'll repot it into a pot that's not much bigger than that it's already in. So this next pot up, that one could fit in, and that'll be a little bit more stable and give that another couple of years growth. So what I'll do first is get the old rubber gloves on, try and keep everything as clean as possible, and I'll also show you what I use for cleaning my clippers, scissors, knives if I'm going to use them. This is a solution of phosphoric acid and alcohol, methylated spirits, ethyl alcohol. I use one of these makeup pads, dip that in and give these blades a good clean. Don't want to get it everywhere, and I've got a plastic board underneath so that it doesn't upset Elaine's best tablecloth. So give those a good clean and wipe off the excess. I don't want any of that acid to get onto the plants, and they should be nicely sterilised, and the gloves as well. I suppose you could use Coca-Cola instead of phosphoric acid, it'd be just the same, wouldn't it? Phosphoric acid is also called pH down, that you use for putting into ponds and things. So I'll close that back up. They should be good enough now, and then we'll get on to extracting this plant from the pot. Right, I've cleaned the decks, got myself a nearly full pot of pine bark, new pair of gloves for dealing with the clinging pine bark, and the decision: black pot, pink pot. Pink pot, of course. So first of all, I'll put some pine bark in the middle there, build that up into a little cone at the bottom, and then just plonk this in and just get it to the sort of height I want it to stick at. That should be fine. And now we've got the delicate job of putting the pine bark into the gaps here, and you just make a real mess of this and poke those down, and I'll keep on doing this until I've got it nicely packed around this side, and then I'll pack it around the other side, poking those down and making sure that they're fitting in nice and tight. It doesn't seem to worry the roots if you squash them. It doesn't matter really if you kill off a few, there's plenty of roots in there. So I'll get plenty more in there, and I'll just keep on doing that until I've got a good packing of pine bark around there. Around this side there's a bit more space in there to get bark in, so I'll push that down as far as I can with the fingers. Really get it packed in. You don't want this wobbling about, falling over. Hope you can see that. And I'll just carry on doing that until it's finally packed in. And the best way to get finer packing in there, tap on the sides. A lot of movement went on in there, and then carry on putting the bark in there. It's all going in somewhere. Now that's mostly packed in. It's taken me about half an hour to do that, but obviously not on the video. As you can see, this is the side that had all the roots coming out the pot, so it is a bit lopsided, but this pot is a lot more stable than the other one, and when this grows over the edge and starts to tip over, I will split this, but you'll just get too many plants if I keep splitting. And so the bark is well down in there, and plenty of packing in like that all the time and pushing in. Keep it nice and tight in there, and then I'll water that and off we go. So what I'm going to do now is just have a look around at some more dendrobiums, and talk about some of the cakeys and other plants we've got. Now I've repotted this dendrobium, what I'm going to do is take off these flower spikes, and I might take off one or two of these cakeys. See this here? It's got all the roots growing in the air, and this seems to be the main way that this propagates. And you just pull that off and plant that into some pine bark. Now here's one I did earlier. This one was taken off the plant, this plant, sometime earlier in the late summer, and this one actually flowered. Now it's a big pot. I think I might have to put that in a smaller pot, or put another keiki in there with it. And then I'll show you some more dendrobiums. So here's that keiki that I took off the speciosum, and I'm just going to put it into this little pot with some pine bark. And at the back here we have Kingianum, Dendrobium Kingianum, and these are just coming to the end of the flowering season. I think these are my favourites, and they produce lots of keikis as well. There's one sitting out here, and that could be taken off, put into a pot, and then before I put this away, and also the speciosum, what I will do is wipe all the leaves with a mineral oil and pyrethrum, just to get rid of any of the bugs or mould that might be on them. I have a problem with mould in the winter because there's not enough ventilation in my little area. So that's the Kingianum. And why do I grow these? Because they flower for me, and they've got used to being where they are, which is good. Bit of pine bark in the bottom, and because this is such a tall plant, I'll put the roots more or less on the bottom. If the plant doesn't stand up very well, you can always tie the bottom down to the bottom of the pot with those plastic ties. There you are. That's about all you need to do. Put a label in, and onto the shelf she goes. Here's a little pest oil with a small amount of pyrethrum in, and made up with some water, and I'll dip my makeup wool in and then give the leaves a nice wipe. Gets rid of the dried calcium deposits from the bore water as well, and this is what you would do if you're going to put your plants on show. Get them all nice and shiny leaved. And of course the best place to go and find all these different species is at your local orchid club, or go to an orchid show. They usually have special orchids on sale. You tend not to get them at places like Bunnings or Home Base or IKEA, although IKEA is a good place to get Phalaenopsis and Cymbidiums. But there we go, so that'll be nice and clean to go onto the shelf. And if I've got time, I'll do that with all the others as well. Get them all nicely cleaned off, all those salt deposits taken off, and any lerps and thrips and nastiness taken off the leaves, and they look better there. Now I'll give you a walk round to show you what other species we've got, especially those that are in flower.